Well, good evening, everybody. It's Warwick Henry from the AHSA Queensland. Welcome to our evening here, a special evening. We're going to be having a look at the Spitfire, the L39, the SNJ out the front. Brad, I'll just pass over to you and you can talk to people.
Thanks, thanks, Warwick. Thanks. I'll stand here in front of the camera. No?
You've got a mic.
Oh, I have too. Thanks, everybody. This is a facility that I share with a few of my buddies. We've got a couple of commercial airline pilots. One was a Virgin pilot flying the triplers to LA and back. Another a cafe pilot who's on an extended leave, and an engineer, and myself. I'm the private pilot of the group. We each own a selection of different aircraft. Myself personally, I own the Spitfire, a P-51 Mustang, which sadly is not here. We've got the plane up on jacks about 100 meters that way in a hangar, unable to get off. We found a crack in the pivot shaft, which we've had to replace. So she's kind of stuck there for the short term. We were actually expecting to have the pivot shaft back, but it's probably a couple more days away, unfortunately. So I also have outside two aircraft. Oh, one's disappeared. A Yak 52. And an S&J 5, probably better known to most of you guys as a Harvard. So I suppose I'll just start through just to continue a little bit more about what we do. So we are technically an adventure flight company for taxation purposes. Nobody here's from the ATO, I hope. No. So we use that as an opportunity to own our machines and to be able to write off some of the expenses of owning and operating these machines, which you can imagine as considerable. That aircraft there alone, insurance is over $100,000 a year. Yeah, so that's a $4.5 million plane. So it is an expensive hobby, but for me it's a bit of a passion, to own exotic aircraft. My wife would rather having an exotic house up the Sunshine Coast, which we don't have, but we do own some beautiful planes. The Cathay Pacific guy I was talking about, he actually owns this here, which is does anybody know what that plane is? This one right here. Yes, correct. So this was 1987. It was in the Czech Air Force. It was a general's personal jet. So he used to use it to fly from base to base. So it's probably one of the lowest time L39s in the world. Yeah, that's a tremendous machine. They're not particularly quick, but they weren't designed to be. They were designed as an advanced jet trainer prior to getting into the swept-back wing MiGs and the likes. Still, a great aircraft. Can fly up to around about 350, 380 knots. Approximately. So it's a cool machine. This one here, this is really the pride and joy of what we've got, which is the Mark 16 Spitfire. We only have been lucky enough to had it back in flight since January of last year. Sadly, as the owner, I haven't even flown this plane yet. Nope. So COVID brought me the great joy of not being able to complete the insurance requirements. So one of those requirements was that I fly in a dual seat Spitfire to get my insurance check off. So it's either go to Britain or go to New Zealand, where there is one in New Zealand. So now that the gate is opened, I'm probably just a matter of weeks before I can get over there, go and fulfil that requirement, and fly in this this aircraft. I just couldn't quite to do it, unfortunately. But yeah, amazing story. We found that plane in the US. It had been kept in a container up in Texas for about 10 years. It was not destroyed. It was damaged in a hurricane, Hurricane Ike, in about 2008. And as a result, it was taken up to a place called just north of Dallas, about 2 hours north of Dallas, and disassembled, washed, and inhibited. And the museum, the Lone Star Museum, spent the insurance money on keeping their doors open and not returning the plane to flight. So we bought it off them in a pretty well disassembled state. So we invested, I think it's about 18,000 hours on an overhaul program, which we started in February 2018, and got it back into flight on January 13 of last year. So what you're seeing there is probably one of the newest restorations of a Spitfire in the world at the moment. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it's actually just all there. So a guy called Doug, well, it's got quite a history. So this plane didn't fly before the end of the war. It was part of an order which was for a group of Mark 9 Spitfires in 1943. Do many people know what a difference between a Mark 9 and a Mark 16 is? No, they're essentially, sorry? Yeah, exactly. So identical aircraft. One's got a British Merlin, one's got an American Packard. This one's got the American Packard. That's the only difference between the two aircraft. In fact, this was designated as a Mark 9. Got to a point on the production line and they had some excess engines and they put a Packard into it, and then it was designated as a 16. Is the Packard just the American making? That's it. Yeah, that's it. Correct. Yeah. So there's one easy way of telling the difference between a Rolls-Royce Merlin and a Packard Merlin. The Rolls-Royce Merlin drips more oil. Yeah.
Do they sound
identical? Yeah, identical. Yeah, they are identical engine. The Packard Merlin is a better engine. The Brits love them. They made Merlins, little men in white coats put them together. In the US, they had a production line. So greater tolerances, better metals, better processes. The Packard Merlins were produced in Canada, weren't they? I don't know of that. Maybe under license again. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. These engines, I think, were out of California. Yeah. That's my understanding. I'm referring to during the war. Oh, well, listen, there was, lots of things were made in Canada during the Second World War under different licenses, including Lancasters, Harvards, all sorts of bits. Yeah, I don't know.
Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation made some Merlins too.
Yeah, did they? I didn't know that. Yeah.
So photograph one with the maker's plate, Rolls-Royce CAC.
Yeah.
Commonwealth
Oh, yeah.
Aircraft Corporation.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So this particular plane, as I said, didn't quite make the war, and that's probably one of the reasons why it survived. So it basically was test flown about a month or so after the end of the European conflict. From there, it went through to a few different training squadrons, eventually moving to part of the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight Program, where it resided through to the 60s. From there, it kind of had a bit of an inglorious end where it became a gate guardian and was a gate guardian at quite a few different UK airports. A lot of people around the world regularly write to us and say, I know you've got this aircraft. I remember it here. I was at that base, or my father was at that base, and I've got a photograph of it as a child. So it's always nice to hear those sort of stories. So it was bought by a well-known collector, aviation restorer, guy by the name of Doug Arnold back in the 1980s. He commenced a restoration process on this. A lot of the componentry was put together by a company called Airframe Assemblies. So it was reskinned. What was reusable was reused, as they do with a lot of these. And it was probably about 80% finished when it was bought by a US enthusiast, and was taken over there. In fact, it was swapped for a B-25 Mitchell. Yeah. So went to Texas, and that's where it was completed. Test flown just before Christmas in 1999, and it only got probably about 60-70 hours before it was damaged by the hurricane. By that point, it had become part of the Lone Star Museum in Texas. So it's incredible machine. Haven't personally flown this. I do fly the P-51 Mustang that's not here. I also fly the Harvard, which we've got outside, the S&J5, which we're actually going to do a startup for you. Thought it wouldn't be complete if you didn't come and hear a bit of fuel being converted into noise. Also shoots a pretty flame out the exhaust. Yeah. So. Oh, it's got an amazing sound to it. Different to that, a lot of the noise out of them comes, during that takeoff from that prop breaking the tip of the prop breaking the sound barrier. This plane here, we regularly fly it. We do adventure flights with it where you can actually fly in another aircraft beside it. It's a single seater, so we can't take passengers. We do get people who fly off a Spitfire flight thinking they're going to fly in a Spitfire, but we have to unfortunately tell them, well, there's actually not enough room unless you want to sit up on the pilot's knee. It's not really going to happen in that plane.
Point out the word fly with the Spitfire.
Yeah, well, it's in the wording. It says fly with a Spitfire. So, but that's an amazing experience to have. So we do that about once a month. So if anybody's interested in knowing about that or having that opportunity, we get a lot of aviation photographers and just general enthusiasts come. But so we'll do close formation, which is a great way to see the Spitfire doing its different handling exercises, including rolls, loops, barrel rolls. So trip down to the Gold Coast, it's a wonderful experience. P-51, which we also have, it's a two-seater, so it gets to you get to actually fly in the machine. But I suppose I'm dancing around all over the place. I suppose I'm remiss to actually talk about the markings we've got on the aircraft, and we chose to mark it in the squadron markings of a pilot called Tony Gaze. Yeah, so Tony Gaze, very probably unrecognised Australian. Tremendous, a tremendous man in his own right, and from a tremendous family. So his father is actually one of Shackleton's men. So for that, he's lucky to have even existed in his own right. But Tony went on to have a fantastic Second World War, and was one of the driving forces behind the creation of Goodwood, the racing circuit. Tony also went on to become Australia's first Formula One driver. So it was a real honour to to speak to his family and to get their approval and to put this plane into his markings. As I said, this aircraft here, L-39 jet, this one's a two-seater like our P-51, and we do adventure flights in this as well, which basically include all of the primary handling exercises that you would experience in a jet like this. For the more adventurous, we go outside. We go outside and we can go and have a look at the Yak-52, which is a Russian aerobatic trainer. Probably I can get. Where are you, Jeremy? Is he up? Yep. Yeah. No. What engine's in this? It's a Czech engine. It's not a Viper. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I couldn't tell you, I don't fly this one. But Jeremy does know a tremendous about the Yak-52. I'll get it. I'll let you, Jeremy, talk about the 52, which is outside.
All right, fantastic. Well, the Yak-52, the original design for the Yak-52 actually dates back to the 1950s. Originally designed as the Yak-18 with a 5-cylinder Russian engine in the front. In the late 50s, it was upgraded to the 9-cylinder M14P engine that's in it at the moment and became the Yak-52. So it was originally designed by the Soviet Union as a military trainer. And it has been used in a lot of civilian air clubs in Russia and the ex-Soviet Union countries. The Yak-52, they still actually build them brand new, so you can actually buy them brand new out of Russia, okay? And the Russians have a philosophy where if it's not broken, they don't try and fix it. So the technology, apart from some more modern radios, is essentially exactly the same as what rolled off the factory floor in the 1950s, okay? This particular example was built in 1993, was used by a Russian air club, I'm not sure exactly which one, but it was imported into Australia about 2.5 years ago and rebuilt by our engineer Cameron, who also flies the Spitfire. This one's got actually an upgraded engine. So the standard M14P engine is about 11.9 litre engine, I think it is. And it puts out about 360 horsepower. This particular one's putting out about 425 horsepower. So she's got a fair bit of get up and go on takeoff, okay? The propeller on the front's actually a German-made MT propeller. So it's actually a balsa wood propeller with a Kevlar coating or Kevlar outer layer. MT propellers are quite well known for their aerobatic performance. The aircraft itself, you can do positive 7.5 minus 5 Gs. Okay, we don't normally take punters up to those sort of G limits. Okay, but we can if we want to. And it's just a hell of a lot of fun to fly. Okay, one of the unique things about Russian aircraft is they use pneumatics as opposed to hydraulics. So pneumatics are used for the engine start, used for retracting the gear flaps, and also the wheel brakes as well. So they sound a little bit like a Mack truck when they're taxiing around on the ground. But the pneumatics we used because hydraulic fluid technology back in the late 50s, early 60s wasn't anywhere near as good as what we have now. And the cold climates in China meant that hydraulics would generally freeze. Okay, air itself was quite plentiful, so they designed it with pneumatics instead of hydraulics. So it was just a common sense way of designing the aircraft. Yeah, like a lot of British aircraft.
So they ripped off that design.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got the Chinese version that's called a Nan Chang.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, both the Nan Chang and the Yak-52 originated from the Yak-18. The Chinese built the Nan Chang under they built the Yak-18 under license back in the 50s or late 50s, early 60s. They worked out they didn't really like it, so they designed their own aircraft using a lot of the design concepts from the Yak-18. So the Yak-52 and the Chinese version, the Nan Chang, are very similar in their systems, but they are two different aircraft to fly. So both of them are a lot of fun though.
Why is the Russian ADI upside down? It always fascinates me.
That is a great question. I have yet to work that out myself. It was just how they designed it. I don't know why.
Blue on the bottom, black on the top.
Absolutely, absolutely. Maybe maybe they designed it for flying upside down. I don't know. But yeah, it always confuses me. So I personally don't actually turn it on when I fly. You know, I just use the big horizon outside.
But the MiG, if you look inside a MiG-15 cockpit, they're all the same.
Yeah.
Well, one of the very interesting things about the Yak 52 is that it only holds 120 litres of fuel, which sounds like a lot, but in cruise, this aircraft's burning about 160 litres an hour in cruise. And so they're burning 60 litres an hour, I should say, in cruise. It's burning about 140, 150 litres an hour on takeoff, okay? So really, they built the Yak 52 with only 2 hours endurance, okay, which from a training perspective doesn't make a lot of sense because it means you can't go anywhere. However, they built it like that because they built all of their training bases more than 2 hours of flying time from the border. Okay, so none of their pilots could actually defect. All right, so that's actually why it's only got a small amount of fuel. Okay. So yeah, hell of a lot of fun to fly. I fly this sort of every second weekend, and I have a great time sort of exposing people to my life, which is aerobatics and my world. When I'm not doing this, I have an aerobatics school just a couple of hangars down, and I teach people how to do this. So yeah, do you have any questions?
Who wants to hear a S&J 5 startup? Yeah.
What are your basic arrows? What do you use to train?
So I've got a super decathlon. Yeah, so it's a high wing tandem seat, 180 horsepower. Yeah, lovely, lovely machine. Yeah. Okay, so UPRT is like defensive driving for pilots. Yeah, that's the best way of putting it. So we put pilots into situations, stalls, spins, what we call unusual attitudes, so basically turn them upside down. We teach them not just how to recover from those situations, but also how to recover their brain to a point where they can think logically and respond correctly to the situation. Because a little bit like, you know, entering a skid in a car, you get the adrenaline levels, which narrows your focus, and so we train pilots how to recover from that. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
You know, when you're upside, well, we'll go and do something like a loop, and we'll actually pull it so it'll snap at the top of the loop, and you'll find yourself inverted and you know, going crazy. Just how to, you know, take the time, work out what you're doing, and you know, go through a recovery process.
Yeah.
What's the hourly rate?
We have to speak to Jeremy on that.
I can explain a little bit more about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, certainly. But yes, it's all in the name of fun. That's what we're here for. Okay. Absolutely. For those who haven't been upside down, you've got to give it a crack. It's great. Okay. And one of the things when I'm flying this machine,
we all do,
is that it's not about when we do these sort of flights, it's not about going wild and crazy. Okay. It's not about showing you what the aircraft can do or how good I am as a pilot. Okay. It's all about the passenger. Okay. So everyone who flies with us here, doesn't matter what the aircraft is, they all get a different ride based on what they want to do or what they don't want to do. So yeah, that's very important for us as an organization, because yeah, we want people to come back and fly something else or tell their family and friends about us in a positive way. So yeah, so it's not about us just going and having fun. It's about the punter as well. So
what do you think of CAS's argument about sip and spin training?
Look, I think that CAS's argument about that is look, with Part 61, they tried to up the standard of training. Okay, their intent was quite positive by, you know, requiring incipient spin training, unusual attitude training, that sort of stuff. However, their execution kind of left a little bit to be desired. I believe that, you know, all of the sort of training that we specialize in teaching down the road, every pilot should do as part of their basic training. Okay, but unfortunately, we as an industry are at a point where it's kids teaching kids. You know, it's a lot of very young instructors who don't have a lot of experience themselves actually teaching people how to fly these days, which unfortunately is just what the industry is like. So I understand CAS's safety concerns with the incipient spin training, okay, and the fact that most training aircraft out there aren't actually designed for spinning. Okay, I actually do spin testing myself. I always spin test or have spun test an aircraft called a Brumby 601. Okay, you may have heard of it, an Australian-made aircraft. Okay, I also have done some spin testing in China on a Chinese aircraft called a HO 300 Seagull. Very inspiring name, but yeah, A normal certified aircraft is not designed for spinning. So to require schools to go out and teach incipient spins, well, that's actually a spin. So I think the change that CASA made recently around incipient spin training is a positive one from a safety perspective, but not from a general outcome perspective. So I look forward to when CASA actually require pilots to go out there and do proper upset recovery training in a safe aircraft with a fully qualified instructor. So, you know, as I said, I think it was good from a safety perspective, the change they made, but, you know, they need to address the bigger picture, I think, or the bigger problem. So, cool.
Yep. Anybody have any other questions on any of this that we can answer, or?
Yeah, I'm actually a career flying instructor as well. I've never been in the Defence Force. I've never flown for an airline. I did spend a little bit of time working for the Royal Flying Doctors, but my passion has been teaching people to fly. Around 10,500 hours now, about 7,500 hours of training and teaching. And I've been teaching aerobatics and spinning and upset recovery training for the last 15 years. It's yeah, what I'm passionate about. So, yeah.
So you should be.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. I'd love to say I haven't worked a day yet, but there's been a couple of days I've had to do some paperwork. So, yeah. Excellent. That's a good question. I couldn't tell you an exact number, but you're looking probably around, say, the 230, 240 Australian mark. Okay, an aircraft in this condition here, with the upgrades and everything it's had, is probably worth about 150,000. Okay, but yeah, brand new, you wouldn't get a whole lot of change out of 250, I think. Yeah, I mean, if you were really, really enthusiastic on flying it across, you could probably rig up a ferry tank or something in the back seat. But yeah, you pull the wings off and ship it in a 40-foot container.
It's easier and cheaper to do that.
Much easier and cheaper. Yeah, I'm sure people have tried to fly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No.
India, this and that.
Yeah. I've actually got an aircraft, another Yak called a Yak 55, which is same engine and basic propeller setup. However, it was specifically designed for aerobatics, designed back in the mid 80s to compete with the American lasers at the time. And I actually shipped that over to China. Well, I did up until COVID hit. Yeah, takes me about 8 hours to pull it apart, put it in a container, and 6 hours to put it together. So, yeah. Yep.
You know, clearances there between the top of the tail fin and the hangar.
Oh, about an inch.
Yep, it's pretty
About
tight.
1 inch.
It's very tight. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So we need to be careful every time, because depending on what's going on with the oleo, the tail could actually hit it. So
Yeah.
there's a moment of truth every time we get it in and out of the hangar.
Yeah. Well, when we have the Mustang in here as well, it's literally inches in between aircraft. Yeah, it's pretty tight. You're ducking and weaving, walking under wings and props and tails and stuff to get to the front of the hangar. So.
What engine life would you get with that?
Engine life. These actually have a 600-hour engine life, so it's actually fairly low time. Okay.
Can you overhaul them here, or you got to send them back?
You can overhaul them here, but there's a very good company in, I think it's Lithuania, that specialises in overhauling these sort of engines, and it's cheaper just to ship it over there to them and get them to overhaul them.
What, 40, 50,000?
Yeah, about that. Yeah. About that. Yeah.
Which is a bit cheaper than the Merlin, getting the Merlin done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got about a 500-hour engine life, and that's around about $350,000 US.
Yeah, no, the wife wouldn't say yes to that.
You just don't know how to ask.
I've been successful at it a couple of times. No, I actually own 3 engines. So I've got 2 in aircraft, and I've got 1 sitting in the US at the moment. No, with the Mustang. Well, yes. You just got to take off the front section, the gearbox off, and it can change out.
Cool.
I've just changed the engine over on this aircraft here. So that's a Pratt and Whitney 1340 in there. It's about 600 horsepower. That one there, that was about a $70,000 US engine change. We no, it's not.
Why is it tempting?
You're flying something yourself at the moment, or?
No, I've just retired. Well, I'm just working as a sim
I
instructor.
have no idea.
I've
Okay.
flown all my life.
Mhm.
Well,
Whereabouts?
I'm a button push
yeah.
airlines, Ansett in Singapore Airlines.
Mhm. Well, we'll go over to that, and I'll give you a bit of a story about this plane. So this is a, said in Commonwealth countries they call them a Harvard. In the United States they call them a Texan. This is the naval version, which is an S&J 5. The naval version of this style of aircraft, the only differences were that it would have flown with a tail hook, because they were designed for as a carrier-based training aircraft, and there's some strengthening in the spars and the wing to take that extra, bang. So this one here is from Pensacola, hence the PA. So from Naval Air Station Pensacola, 1944. This aircraft would have absolutely had boys fly in this that would have absolutely have gone on to fly, Corsairs, Mustangs, Lightnings on, into the war. So more likely the Corsairs and Dauntlesses and things like that, because it was a naval aircraft. So if ghosts could talk, there'd be some amazing stories from some of the boys that flew this plane. So this one here, it's been in Australia probably for better part of 30 odd years. It was the first Harvard to actually come out of the United States into Australia. I've owned this one for about 3 years now. We repainted it and re-engined it, and done quite a lot of structural work on it since we owned it. But we regularly fly this. It flies probably about once or twice a week. They're an amazing machine. They call these the pilot maker, because they're technically quite a difficult aircraft to fly correctly. They're very precise. In fact, they say that after you've been flying a P-51 Mustang for about 50 hours, you're ready to fly a Harvard or an S&J. Yeah. So
sometimes you can see where you're going.
yes, yes. I haven't done that yet in this plane. I have in a P-51 Mustang. I've seen the world go round. In fact, I did it with Jeremy in the back seat at a fairly high speed. So that was an interesting moment. But this one, no, she's quite gentle. So we're coming over the fence in this at about 80 knots, and it's stalling at around about 68, 69. The P-51, it's like juggling a chainsaw without a handle. It's coming over. You're turning onto final at 110 knots. You're coming over the fence at 100 knots minimum. It'll fall out of the sky at around about 87 knots. Yeah, and it's not just a little wing drop. It goes like very, very quickly. So you've got to fly the plane to the ground. With this one, you can fly along the runway. And the Spitfire, that one there, that will stall at 56 knots. 56 knots, which is absolutely quite incredible. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, very, 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 beautiful plane to see land. You land them in a 3-point configuration. This one here, you can land at 3-point or tail. Oh, sorry, wheel. I prefer to land this wheeler personally. You just got much more authority and control. Yeah, you can see more too. Yeah. Jeremy, did you want to do the start, mate? Yeah. And if you just want to, yeah, just start it and we'll just shut it down from there. Give it a good start and bit of throttle. Yeah, drive it forward and just get it so it's in the taxiway. We'll stand back over here.
No, Mitchell. Bloody great boss. She's had a great boss.
Clear. Fairly new, it's brand new engine, so it's being a little bit temperamental at the moment. We're trying not to make it go bang, 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 bang. It's just, we haven't got this one quite right yet.